Hello and welcome back everyone, I am Stanley and this is my Parable. Well, of course it's not, I'm Day-Glo Buffalo and this is Let's Play the Stanley Parable. So, when we last left off, we had gotten to what I presume is one of the endings of the game, because we had gotten into the main chamber of the big mind control device, surveillance device, whatever it was. We had turned it off, and a big door had opened and we had gotten out. And now we're back in our cubicle 427, back with our computer, and back with, I think this looks like the original corridor from the beginning of the game. Now, I don't know if the game actually resets to 0 when you get to one of the endings, or if there's still something left over that keeps track of what you did so far. But I guess that's just something we're gonna have to find out. Hold on a second, I forgot to set my timer, and otherwise I don't know how long I've been recording. Alright. So, I was thinking what we could do this time around, and
Stanley stood for a long time in one spot. It's part of a game. He likes to see how long he can go without dying. So far, he's doing excellent, and if he just stays right where he is, I'm sure he'll keep up that good momentum. Let's observe the genius at work.
Well, thank you. So anyway, what I was saying, what I thought we could do is follow whatever the voice says. So he says go right, we go right. He says, I don't know, whatever he says, we do, just to see where we end up. So, of course, now he told us that we're standing still in one spot, which is technically true. Actually, we have no legs, so I don't know. Because this way, it kind of looks like we're perching on the desk. Anyway, so, let's see what happens. So, as always,
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Okay, that's already different. So we're adding a dimension of paranoia to the whole thing. Fair enough. Let's move on. Second office, still empty. It looks very much like it did at the very beginning of the game, though. No?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
On our left. Last time we went through the right, so let's go to the left. That's still the same office. And here we are back in the meeting room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Of course, we'll stop by the broom closet on the way. How could we not? So we've looked at the slides. Okay. Come on, let me in. Man, that's my favorite room in the whole game. That's not fair.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
All right, here we go. And upstairs we are. Back in the plush offices of the executives. A desk of the assistant.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, This keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 28. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination. If he knew that the combo was 2845, it would be another story entirely. But no. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
And here we are. This is a lot like the last part we went through. So will we end up in the same place, doing the same thing?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
So that would be a branching path, but hey, we wanted to see where the voice takes us. Or I wanted to see where the voice takes us. So this is all familiar.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
So we've got system power, just like we did last time. So this is... well, let's see through to the end and just see what happens, so at least we can rule out this branch.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
All right, so we're right back where we left off last time.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Well, so we went through the whole thing and ended up at the same place where we did last time. So that was 10 minutes, pretty much wasted, but it's not that big a deal. So what questions are still open, or at least what did we see along this path that we could have done differently? We could have taken the escape route right before the mind control room. We could have not shut down the machine. And there were those buttons with the numbers on it in the room before the on-off buttons that probably have some kind of meaning that I haven't figured out yet. So the question is, what do we do next? That was the phone that rang. Where is it? This one.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
Well, thank you. I feel so much better now. Of course, the recorded message that warns us of recorded messages could just be a mind trick to try to get us to listen to recorded messages. So, the real question is, I guess we'll try the escape route?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Right. I mean, left. And we'll be back in the meeting room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
But at least we got our broom closet back.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Well, I think we kind of reset that message, but
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
we already went downstairs, so I don't think there's anything down there that we can do differently. There also was...
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings,
Was it
desperate for
2845?
clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Well played. Well played, game.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
And here we are. After that soothing New Age music, we're back at the elevator. Wait a second. We skipped like a whole part here. The narrator, did his whole spiel about free will or whatever, and then we would arrive.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Not this time.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Well, at least it's something different.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
This is a very...
Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
It's a very long hallway. And just a hole in the floor that we will probably fall through to our death. Yep. What on earth?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Nothing we can do, I don't think.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Okay, where are we now? The Stanley Parable. Well, at least we know in which game we are.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Kinda dark. Hello? Oh, a door opens. We can move sideways, so this is like a room. Oh, that looks fancy through there. Look at all those columns. It's all white.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Again, this is getting quite heavy. Stanley's computer. Oh, these are the paintings that are scattered around the office. I presume this is like a map. Yeah, this is our office. That's the first little room office layout. This blueprint shows the office from the beginning of the game. The path from Stanley's office to the two doors was the first part of the game that was built. Sections have been added and altered throughout development through the Though the core layout remains almost identical to the first iteration. Yep, there's the second office. And we finally get to the room with the 2 doors. Corridor. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. This corridor has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the 2 doors in a good time. What do we have here? Filing cabinets. In various stages of open. The 2 doors. The set of 2 open doors was the very first concrete piece of the Stanley Parable's design. Once this room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension of it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. Alright, so we're getting a behind-the-scenes look. This is, of course, a desk. The office. Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. These aren't the same sounds that we heard in that one room, though, that had the 5 buttons. Okay, here we have the credits. Kevin Briding as the narrator. Not gonna read those out to you. Office computers. One's playing solitaire, the other one just has, what is that, Windows 3.2 and employee database and DOS. So there's a door through there and a door through here. Let's go left first. Always go left. Here we have the office, a plant and a box. 431 through 36, a copier. And maintenance room. An early version of the maintenance room. Will we see a big picture of the broom closet as well? Okay. These are screenshots of the Stanley Parable HD remix. More endings, fewer endings, more narrators, fewer narrators, more Stanley, less Stanley. The point of the Stanley Parable HD remix is to win. Am I going crazy? Maybe it isn't the same. Is that image? Was that clock there before? I don't remember. How do I go back? Can you check for me? Point of the Stanley Parable HD remix is to lose. Larger words. If someone could just get rid of the text, maybe then I could see what the game is about. Ooh, side room. Okay, we've got a Tron room that we haven't seen yet. There is a piece of wall with razor wire and a broken bike. Alien base. Is there an alien base? Early in development, we designed an ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield fighting aliens. The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and on the nose for the tone of the game. Plus, some people interpreted it as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. So, no Tron room? That's too bad. Narrator emails. After the second trailer we sent out, we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these in further promotion materials, we never found a perfect use for them. Here are a selection of these emails. Oh. Okay. This is very hard to read. And I think that if we read them all, we'd be here for a while. Probably easier to look them up on the net. The office. Pencil sharpener and a phone. The lounge. An early version of the lounge. Actually gets nicer with iteration. The apartment timer. 6, 5. Seems to be counting down to something. It's counting down to when it counts back up and then starts counting down again. In a previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, a timer would give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. Okay. Was that one part where we got to the apartment with the mannequin, was that the apartment ending, or was that just, I don't know, some joke involving the apartment? This looks like Aperture Science right here. The cargo lift. The second version is functionally the same as what's in the final game, but wanted it to look more like a place where cargo is actually stored. Yeah, this looks like Aperture. And the other one, the one that's actually in the game, looks like a warehouse. The cargo lift. The cargo lift was always intended to offer the choice of staying on or jumping to a different path. However, after this early version, we decided we also wanted the option of the player falling to their death. So yeah, technically we got a few more options there. Ooh, a chair, but no description. Actually, that probably where what do they call those, museum wardens or whatever, sit and, you know, look, make sure that tourists don't touch anything. So we've got a room over here with some very bright windows. Maintenance layout. The flow of hallways following the first two doors was important to get right, since players will replay them so many times. We discussed a number of designs, but ultimately it was the simplest version that won out. Okay. Obey leads to the staircase. Disobey. Lounge, vent, maintenance. And leads back to the staircase. There was a path when we went to the lounge that afterwards it would say, and here he turned left, and in order to get back to the original path. So I wonder if that actually just takes us back to the path, or if that is another branching, like you know, a path that is unique. Okay, maintenance to confusion ending. One doorway to maintenance in the lounge, and the original back on track option. One option. Two options. Meeting room. Well, I guess the only way to find out is to try and explore that path. What do we have here? The game is now paused. Begin the game again, resume the game, options, return to menu, escape menu. For a long time, we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. I'll definitely agree with that. Here again, we have branching paths. Zending. This screenshot depicts an early version of the ending known as the Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. Okay. Zending levers. These levers were originally part of the Zending. The player would pull a lever and the narrator would describe what color lever they pulled. I can't actually pull them now. Okay, there's the big picture over there, and there is just a hallway over here, so let's take a look at this room. Oh, there's a bunch of paths here. What the hell was that? Something came out of this desk! Countdown desk. One of the desks from an early version of the countdown ending. Okay. Freedom ending. This is a freedom ending as it existed in beta. I think we got that one. Monitor room elevator. For a time, the elevator in the monitor room could go up or down, with freedom above and countdown below. We abandoned this when players found it too difficult to remember what was up and what was down, and placed the two endings together instead. Here we have the countdown room. An early version of the countdown room. So the question is, now we have 3 branching paths here and another one back there. Where do we go from here? Well, I guess we'll find out in the next part. So for now, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like or a comment below. Yeah, subscribe to stay up to date. See what happens next, and I will see you in the next part. So until then, have a good one.